We're here at the Trellix Cybersecurity Summit with Ken Kartsen, Senior Vice President, Public Sector at Trellix. Ken, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I'd like to start by asking, what steps is your organization taking or promoting to move beyond endpoint protection and response towards a more holistic, extended detection and response approach to cyber threats?
Yeah, thank you, and great question. I mean, I think about the security industry and how we've focused on endpoints, which are critically important because that is where the data resides, essentially. But ultimately, our data is everywhere. It's going across the network, it is in the cloud, and when you think about how you protect your environment, how you protect your critical assets, that XDR component, extended detection response, it is meaningful as far as how do you protect what is crossing, maybe laterally, cloud to cloud, or cloud into network. Maybe it's never touching the endpoint. And how do you get that full operating picture in order to be able to protect your organization and your critical assets when something may not necessarily get to your endpoint at the early stages or at once or ever?
And then looking a little bit ahead, as we all are in the coming fiscal year for federal government, in what security technology areas is your organization really concentrating its efforts and maybe investment priorities?
Yeah, for Trellix as an organization, as a company, as a provider of security technologies and capabilities, our foremost thought is how do we make this easier and more capable for the operator? So for us, that's having a common operating picture. You'll see over time in the next couple months, us come out with our X console, which will integrate both EDR, XDR, view capability and response, as well as NDR. So we're looking at things that are happening in the cloud or on the network and bringing it all to a common operating picture. So those critical resources that you have, and ultimately we never have enough resources to operate our environment, can make very quick decisions.
And then the other question is, how prevalent has the use of machine learning and AI become in your organization's products and to really protect against cyber threats?
It's a part of everything. It's every solution that we have in this entire stack, as you may have heard Karan state earlier on stage. It's critical that we use as much advanced technology, machine learning, artificial intelligence to make those decisions before they get to the operator. Because there's just too much data and too many decisions to make for any human to get advanced or be in an advanced state over an adversary.
And then do you see the traditional cultural and operational gaps between security and DevOps teams narrowing in the government IT sector?
Narrowing, yes. It's a slow fold. I kind of think about it, the industry may change, but it's always similar and you see the same things historically. I think about databases and database security. We all talked about how all of our critical information is stored in the database. What are we doing to protect those databases? And database administrators, how common their use of security practices were or are. And fundamentally, that was a very big chasm to overcome. DevSecOps is a little bit the same. Our culture has changed overall. I think our culture moves forward, no matter what the category is. So security is more embedded, it is more fully thought through, but there still is somewhat of a chasm between our security operators, our security policy, our security orchestrators, and DevSecOps, who's pushing out applications for capabilities and applications easier for our users to be provided.
And then lastly, what are the biggest challenges that your organization sees or faces in implementing zero trust security architecture in the federal government in the coming years?
Yeah, what we see is the biggest obstacle to overcome is legacy investments. And from our perspective, it is incredibly important to have an interoperable environment. You can't leave your legacy investments behind overnight. It's going to take time. So when you deploy and when you architect and deploy a zero trust architecture and solution, it is critically important that you are able to integrate your legacy investments so they're part of your greater enterprise.
Terrific. Well, Ken Kartsen, thank you so much for taking time to join us here at the Trellix Cybersecurity Summit.
Thank you very much for having me.